When he sees you, something shifts, not just in him, but in the energy around him. The conversation falters, his body stiffens, his gaze locks onto you and then pulls away too quickly. But in that moment, before he can hide it, you see something real, a flash of emotion he didn't mean to show. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's deep, and your body recognizes it before your mind does. He feels more than he shows, and whether he wants you to see it or not, you already have. Carl Jung said that the unconscious always leaks through, that what we try to hide will always find its way out, in glances, in posture, in pauses. And the truth is, when a man feels something for you, something real, it often shows up not in what he says, but in what he tries not to say. He won't always confess it, he might not even understand it. But when he stares, when his gaze lingers, as you walk in, when he fumbles or stiffens, or suddenly looks for a distraction, you're witnessing his truth before he has the words for it. And that's what makes it so powerful. Because it's not planned, it's not performance, it's unconscious. He wants you more than he knows how to say, and sometimes more than he knows how to handle. There's a particular tension in the way he avoids you that doesn't feel like disinterest. It feels like restraint, like something he's holding back, something heavy, something he's trying to hide, not because he doesn't feel it, but because he feels it too much. When a man wants you but isn't ready to want you, everything becomes complicated. His gaze becomes both invitation and denial. His silence becomes both refuge and scream. His energy becomes a battlefield between what he feels and what he believes he's allowed to feel. And in the middle of all that is you, the woman who senses all of it but isn't sure if she's imagining it. You're not. You never were. Women have been trained to doubt their intuitive knowing, to dismiss the very thing that makes them wise. You feel what you feel for a reason. That flutter in your chest, that electricity in your skin when he enters the room, that sudden awareness that your presence has been noticed. It's real. It's happening. And if you've ever caught him staring before, quickly looking away, if you've ever seen his whole demeanor change when you arrive, that's not a coincidence. That's the unconscious rising to the surface. He may carry himself like nothing's happening. He may speak to you in neutral tones, or keep his distance, but something about his behavior never quite matches his words. It's the way he pays attention without trying to look like he is. The way he finds reasons to be near, even when there's no reason at all. The way he seems composed but unsettled, quiet but charged, distant but undeniably aware of you. These are the signs of a man who is feeling more than he's prepared to admit. And this doesn't make him weak, it makes him human. Desire is vulnerable. Attraction, when it's real, when it's soul deep, is terrifying. Especially for a man who's spent his whole life believing he needs to be in control of what he feels. You walk in and something shifts in him. Maybe he straightens up. Maybe he adjusts his shirt or clears his throat. Maybe he suddenly needs to check his phone or busy himself with something trivial. These are not meaningless gestures. They are defense mechanisms. His body is responding before his mind can rationalize it. Carl Jung taught us that the anima, the feminine energy within the male psyche, is awakened by the presence of real feminine essence, not surface beauty, not performance, but the quiet, embodied radiance of a woman who knows who she is. And when you walk in holding that, he feels it. It unsettles him, not because it's wrong, but because it touches something real inside of him, something he didn't realize was waiting for you. What makes this kind of moment unforgettable is not that he said anything or did anything obvious. It's that he couldn't help but respond, and you saw it. The world may keep telling you to wait for actions, for words, for confirmation, but your body is more ancient than language, and it knows what it sees. It knows the difference between being looked at and being seen. It knows the difference between attention and reverence. And when a man stares at you like that, even just once, he's telling you more than he knows. His soul is peeking through the cracks, and in that moment, you are witnessing the truth behind all his masks. You are not making this up, and you are not wrong for noticing. You are simply awake. Awake to energy, awake to resonance, awake to the unsaid. And that is a gift, because so many people live their lives numb to their feelings, numb to their desires, numb to the possibilities that rise in a single look. But not you. You've always felt things a little more, seen things others miss, caught what wasn't said. That's not a weakness. That's the feminine intuition that Jung spoke of. The ability to see beyond form, to sense what others suppress. And in a world that moves too fast to notice these subtleties, you are a reminder of depth, of meaning, of connection. He may never tell you how he feels. He may never act on it. But that look, that pause, that moment you keep replaying it, was real. And no matter how much he tries to hide it, his soul recognized yours. That's why he stared. That's why he froze. That's why, even now, you're still thinking about it. Because something inside both of you opened, even if just for a second. And once that door opens, no matter how gently, it's never fully closed again. You've always had this power. The power to be felt without touching, to be remembered without speaking, to be known without ever needing to prove yourself. And when you walk into a room with that kind of energy, the men who are not ready for truth will fumble. They will retreat. They will pretend not to care. But the one who looks at you and then looks away with a weight he can't hide, he's not pretending, he's just scared. Scared of what he feels. Scared of what it means. Scared that you might see through the armor he spent years building. But the irony is, you already have . So don't doubt yourself. Don't gaslight your intuition. And don't let the world convince you that what you felt wasn't real. If you saw it in his eyes, if you felt it in the stillness, if something in you lit up the moment he turned toward you, trust it. Trust your depth. Trust your perception. Trust that you were right to feel what you felt. Because not everything real is loud. Sometimes, it's a look, a glance, a moment. And sometimes, that moment changes everything. If you've felt confused by a man's signals, you're not imagining things. The Jung Method reveals what he hides, and why you feel it anyway. It helps you reclaim your energy and finally understand the truth behind silence. Link pinned in the first comment. Now, let's continue. A man who feels more than he shows is not necessarily emotionally unavailable. He might be emotionally overwhelmed. When you walk into a room and his behavior changes, that shift is not a sign of rejection, it's often a sign of internal conflict. One part of him is pulled toward you, drawn to something he doesn't fully understand. The other part is trying to maintain control, to act like nothing is happening, to stay within the boundaries of what feels familiar and safe. But desire does not ask for permission. And when the unconscious speaks through the body, it says everything. The mouth is afraid to say. He might start adjusting his shirt, touching his face, fidgeting with objects near him. These aren't just meaningless gestures. They are physical discharges of emotion. His body is trying to regulate what he feels. This is why some men become awkward or quiet around the women they're most drawn to. They fear saying the wrong thing. They fear being exposed. They fear losing control of the narrative they've built about who they are and what they're supposed to want. But you didn't ask for a performance. You didn't walk in expecting him to be perfect. You simply showed up. And your presence disrupted the version of himself he thought he had mastered. There's a kind of magnetic pull that happens between two souls who recognize each other, even when their minds don't. It's ancient. It's quiet. It's overwhelming. And in that space, most men don't know what to do. Jung believed that the psyche is constantly seeking integration, that what is repressed will rise again and again until it is seen and understood. In the context of attraction, this means that a man who suppresses his emotions will eventually find himself drawn to someone who awakens them. And when that person is you, he won't always react with grace. Sometimes he'll withdraw. Sometimes he'll become nervous. Sometimes he'll act cold. But underneath it all, he feels deeply. He feels you, and that's why he can't quite look you in the eye without giving something away. What's even more telling than how a man looks at you is how he looks at others when you're near. Does his tone shift when you're listening? Does he try to appear more composed, more confident, more in control? Does he suddenly become quiet when he senses your attention? These are subtle signals, but they reveal everything. He is aware of you, not just physically, but energetically. You are part of his internal world, whether or not he admits it. And that awareness changes how he moves through space. It's not about obsession. It's about resonance. You have entered a frequency that touches something real in him. Sometimes he tries to appear unaffected. He becomes overly casual, almost distant. But distance is not always disinterest. Often, it's defense. Because the truth is, he doesn't know how to engage with a woman who sees him. Not the mask. Not the posture, not the role, but him, the real man underneath, the boy who once wanted to be chosen, the soul that longs for connection, the heart that beats harder when you're around. He might pretend not to care, but his nervous system tells the truth, and you can feel it. The sudden stillness, the tension in his shoulders, the flicker of something vulnerable in his eyes. These are the places where love begins, even when it's hidden. You don't have to chase the truth, you only have to feel it. The way he lingers just long enough before walking away, the way his energy spikes when you speak, the way he seems both comfortable and restless in your presence. These contradictions are not accidental. They are emotional echoes of something unspoken, of a desire that has no language yet. And your role is not to decode him or fix him or wait for him to confess. Your role is simply to remain present in your own body, to stay grounded in what you know, to trust that what you feel is valid, even if he never finds the words. The most powerful connection is the one that doesn't need to be explained. It's the connection that exists between two souls who have crossed paths before. Maybe not in this life, maybe not in any life you remember, but the recognition is there. It's in the way he flinches when you speak your truth. It's in the way he pauses when you laugh. It's in the way he remembers details he was never supposed to notice. That's not ordinary. That's not casual. That's soul memory rising to the surface. And it's sacred. Carl Jung said that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. This applies not only to trauma, but to attraction, to emotion, to the inexplicable pull we feel toward certain people. When you walk into a room and a man feels something he can't name, it's often the beginning of a transformation. Not always for the relationship, but always for the self. You have activated something in him, and whether or not he chooses to engage with it, it's already begun. This is why your presence matters. Not your performance, not your approval, just your presence. When you embody your energy without apology, you become the mirror he wasn't ready to look into, and that can be both magnetic and terrifying. Some men will come closer, others will retreat. But either way, you have shifted something, not only in him, but in yourself. Because seeing the truth in someone else often helps you see it more clearly. In your own reflection, do not underestimate the power of subtle recognition. You may never hear him say it out loud, but his soul has already spoken. In the glance, in the silence, in the way he avoids you and then searches for you. In the way he stays quiet, but listens more attentively when you speak. In the way his body softens and stiffens at the same time when you're near. He feels more than he shows, and you feel more than you're given credit for. That's not a coincidence. That's alignment. You were not meant to be confused. You were meant to remember. To remember what it feels like to trust your intuition, to believe in your emotional wisdom, to know the difference between being seen and being stared at, between being admired and being awakened. When you sense that he's holding something back, it's not because you're overthinking, it's because you're tuned in. And that is a kind of intelligence the world has forgotten how to honor. But you haven't. You remember, even if you can't always explain it, even if it makes you feel too much, too soon, even if it makes you question everything you thought you knew about connection. You remember what it's like to be felt, deeply, without language, without proof, without plans. And that remembering is what makes you rare. He may not know what to do with that, but it doesn't make it any less real. So when he sees you and something shifts, when his gaze holds you a second too long, when he acts like he didn't notice you but his body tells a different story, don't dismiss it, don't silence it, don't convince yourself that you imagined it, because that's what the world has trained you to do, to doubt your knowing, to mistrust your depth, to silence the part of you that sees beyond the surface. But that part of you is exactly what makes you powerful. He may not speak it, he may never act on it, but what he feels is real, and what you feel is valid. You were never crazy, you were just awake. Awake enough to recognize that some feelings don't need to be said out loud to be true. They only need to be felt. And you've always known how to feel.